Warning. Listening to this show may result in increased levels of inspiration, motivation, and innovation. Side effects can include the immediate urge to take massive action to build a better business and life for yourself and others. You've been warned. Welcome to Influencers Radio with your host, Jack Mize.
And welcome back to another episode of Influencers Radio. If you've ever watched the home design shows, and I can tell you, I've watched a lot of TV over this last year with this coronavirus. I find myself at home flipping through the TV channels, and I can tell you the home design shows seem to be on every hour of every day. And I can tell you from my own experience that you may have some preconceived notions about home designers and the home design process that frankly just aren't true. And I'll tell you one of the big ones is that hiring a designer costs too much money and takes too much time. Well, what I found is the reality is a good designer can actually save you time and money. And that's exactly what we're going to be talking about, because today my guest is Lori Carpenter. She is an award-winning full-service interior design professional and the CEO and principal designer at Lori Carpenter Designs. And since 1996, she has helped thousands of busy homeowners create beautiful, comfortable, and inviting spaces that they can not only be proud of when entertaining family and friends, but more importantly, a sanctuary for themselves that renews their souls and a place they love to call home. So with that, Lori, welcome to Influencers Radio.
Thank you, Jack. I appreciate this opportunity.
Well, I will tell you, I'm one of those people. You know, I've watched the interior designs, and I actually probably started watching them long ago from not just the renovations, but the contest shows, where they have the contest of the designers and all of that. And I kind of developed my own preconceived notions. And I'm sure just like a lot of the shows, the flipping houses shows, there's a lot of misconceptions, a lot of myths, and I'm sure a lot of things that they just don't talk about. So that's what I like to focus on today, is kind of really busting some of those myths. So let's kick it off right there. What do you think are the biggest misconceptions or myths around working with a designer?
Well, there are several, but the most that I hear, and a lot of designers have forced their ideas and their design style on clients. They're not listening to what they want and not truly giving them the experience that makes them happy. As a designer, I'm going to drive off from their house. I want their house to be a reflection of themselves, their lifestyle, and I want it to be something that they feel comfortable and enjoy entertaining family and friends.
Well, you said a couple of things that really, made me think of some of the things that I've thought about, the why I wouldn't enjoy that experience or hire a designer. One, because you see on some of the shows, and some of them are pretty heavily, painted stereotypes, but that designers are very highly sensitive artist types. And it's not about, giving you what you want. It's about, like you said, imposing, their ideas that they know best. And I think a lot of people think that they may come away with a home that they don't feel comfortable in, or a home that maybe they feel like isn't livable. Because that's one of my biggest fears is I see some of the house and I think, it looks nice, but I don't think I would be comfortable living in a showroom.
Absolutely. And we all know now with COVID and how everything has been, everybody's craving a comfortable home. We don't want anything that we can't live in. It is so important that that your home does reflect you and your lifestyle. It needs to be comfortable. But, home is where we build our memories. This is where everything happens, our life, how we live it. And if our homes are comfortable and inviting, our lives are going to be more comfortable and inviting. It's so important to connect those two.
Well, yeah. And I think, having someone that listens, and I think that's one thing that you do very well, and what it seems to be, and what, creates happy clients of yours, is that you listen to them and understand what they want. And in a way, that kind of takes some magical gifts, because another fear that I've always had if I hired a designer is I'm probably one of those type of people, and you may find this to be very common, is that I'm not really sure what I want, but I sure know what I don't want.
Right. And, I love a client like that, because you can show them things, you can give them options and show them maybe what's trending or what's happening now. And then they can say, one of my favorite clients will just say, no, I don't like that at all. That helps. That helps clarify things. We can get off to finding what you do like, have a look at your lifestyle. So, yeah, I love that. I really do. But yeah, a lot of times you don't know. And that's what a good designer will do, is kind of guide you through figuring out what your space needs to be for you and your lifestyle.
And I guess that's something that you have to be comfortable with sharing with the designer, right? Because I think you have to accept that the designer's not a mind reader, right?
Absolutely.
You can extract this stuff. So what does that process look like if somebody, so if somebody has that first meeting that, I want to see and talk about what the possibilities are and see if this would be a good fit. What does it look like, that first conversation?
Well, generally, I will talk with them over the phone. They'll call me or I'll call them, and we will set up. And I want to know their family, their lifestyle, what are hobbies, things they do, how they live in their house. Actually, one of my clients, she was ready to remodel her kitchen. So I went in and just worked in her kitchen one day, just helped cook a meal. So I would have an idea of kind of what her kitchen layout was like. So then that helped me design her a kitchen of her dreams that it's so functional, and she needed to expand for her family. So you've got to really get in there, into their lives and kind of peel it back and help guide you to what you want. Sometimes you really don't know. And, I attend trade shows and markets, and I study this. An interior designer studies this, like you probably do with radio and podcasts. You study it and the interview, everything. But we do the same thing, basically, except it's in design. What colors are trending, what flooring, what all's happening in the world right now. We all do that. So anyway, yeah, I'm just about trying to, like I said, peel it back and get to know you and your lifestyle of what you really want.
Well, you said something very important there that I think a lot of people maybe don't think about up front, as at first they're thinking strictly about aesthetics, what's it going to look like? But you said the word functionality. And I know from probably anything from design to buying a car to clothes, that something can look really nice and not be functional. And it doesn't take long for you to hate that pretty space. Right?
Yes.
So what do you find, what are some of the trade-offs that maybe people aren't thinking about? Like when you're talking about a kitchen or a bathroom, that people initially think, this would look really nice. This is what I want. But functionally, from experience that it may not be the best choice.
Yes, absolutely. People will find like a picture in a magazine, in these beautiful magazines, and go, yes, that's what I want that exactly. But, your lifestyle may not, mesh with that look. It really may not. And so I think a lot of people will do that. They will cut out a picture and I want this exactly. Well, you're not just exactly like that picture. Everybody's different. And you need to kind of, yeah, it gives us ideas and wonderful. I love magazines, don't get me wrong, but you can base, I want my clients to, yes, I want their houses to be in magazines, of course, obviously, but I want it to be a reflection of them. I want it to be a home that they're comfortable in.
Well, and I think that's probably the most important. I think, the fact that you take the time to talk that out with them, because it's almost like you have to be part designer, part psychologist.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Especially a lot of times, when it's a husband and wife or a partner, they have different ideas. They have their own. And sometimes you have to just gently guide them to help them see how things may or may not work together.
And that's a talent in itself, getting people to be able to paint that picture before
yes.
it's actually there. And so, obviously taste is something that people are concerned about. Will your design be compatible with my taste? And certainly it sounds like that's something that you work through and that you truly take the time to understand ahead of time. But then there's the people like me that the time that I may not want to be involved as much, because I think it comes from being traumatized as a child. To me, torture was when my parents decided that they wanted to go to the paint store. And 10 minutes seemed like 10 hours to a kid as parents are looking at colors and swatches. How would you work with someone like that? Do they look, I just want it to look good, show me something. I don't know what I want. But just show me something great and don't give me too many choices that I.
Yes, that's something you do not want to get is a lot of options. I really try to break it down to maybe 2 or 3 options. A lot of my clients have vacation homes here in my area. We have a lot of, I'm in north central Arkansas, so we have a lot of springs and rivers and lakes, and people come here to hunt, to fish, and just to get on the lakes, play golf, everything. So a lot of the homes in my area are secondary homes. And so a lot of times I'm working with a client that lives in Louisiana or Florida or, anywhere. And I am actually overseeing the project. Well, now with our technology, I can get on like a Skype call or on a FaceTime or send a picture, ask a question. And if I'm overseeing a project, I take pictures of that project and send them daily, so they know what's going on and what the issues are, what's happening next. And, it's overwhelming if you're starting a renovation or a new home when you are busy. And so I had a client from Louisiana that we did restored a little Girl Scout cabin. They were never here. I would just send them pictures, talk to them, let them know what was going on. And it was wonderful. It turned out wonderful. They just told me they wanted a place to just come to and escape. And pretty much I showed them a few options and they chose one and we flew with it. And it turned out fabulous. We ended up doing several more for them. So, it's fun to do, and the renovations and new builds. But everything's going to have hiccups. Now that's just the way it is. But I can help guide you away from that and help save you time and money. That's what a good designer will do.
And I think that's, like I talked about at the top of the show, one of the big concerns that people have. And so I'd like to dig deeper into kind of the tactical side of what you do, because a lot of people think of home design as cosmetic, decorating. But you actually have a team that can, really get down to the bones of a house and do some pretty drastic and dramatic changes. Can you talk about some of those, how deep that you can get into a project when it comes to making these changes?
Oh, I can start. I prefer, from the beginning when we're looking at house plans and trying to get everything set. And, I've been in this so long and I've seen so many mistakes made. Heck, I've made them. I've made them myself, even in my own home. But I've seen enough that I can help guide them to keep them from making costly mistakes or something that could be detrimental, especially for a budget, down the road, because I can know when, you need to splurge on this and you can cut back here. It's kind of like the high-low of a design. Not everything has to cost $1 million. You can make things work. And some of the things I do for my clients is work with what they have, especially now we are having trouble getting furniture and things in. It's taking quite some time now. I go into homes that I'll say, if you just want to go for the day, let me just come in and I'll rearrange this room. I'll work on this room and it's called a designer for the day. And, it's up to like 6 hours and I'll just have them set out what they like, what they don't want. I want them to pull it and it's not anywhere in their house then. And then I could go in and hang the pictures, drapes, whatever, so, but I really like from the beginning, making sure all the plugs are in the right place, the heat and air controls are in the right place. I've gone in where they're in the middle of a wall. That you can't hang a picture, you can't do anything because of where it's located.
Oh, yeah.
A builder doesn't know, how they're going to live their lifestyle. They just build a house. Where a designer gets in on the lifestyle and think about the furniture size and where it's going to go and, where we need those plugs in the floor. A designer can spot all that to begin with. And, that's one thing I do with my clients is, let's look at your furniture, what you're going to keep and what you're going to get rid of. And then let's start, planning around that. A builder just builds. He doesn't care if your table is sitting in the middle, they'll hang a light just in the middle of the room because that's all they know to do. Well, you may have a antique piece from grandma you want sitting at the end of that. That table is not in the center of that room. So your light's out of whack. It's not centered with the table. So it's things like that a designer can see ahead of time and guide you away from making, to have someone come back in and move that light. There's sheetrock repair, there's sheetrock dust, there's repainting, So, if we can get on top of that to begin with, you talk about saving you time and money. I mean, that is invaluable.
Yeah, and I think one of the things with your process that you talked about is, I think some people think that the designer is come in, here, let's pick out everything that you want, make your wish list, and then all of a sudden it's sticker shock, right?
Yeah.
And then people don't get what they think they want. But it sounds like you kind of figure out what it is, that budget there is, and then you kind of work the possibilities within the realm of that budget. Is that the kind of the chronology
right.
of
yes.
that process?
Yes. In fact, I love if they will talk budget. A lot of times they'll say, well, I don't know. And they think if I give you a figure of $25,000, you'll spend every penny of it. Or if I give you, so a lot of times I have to guide them and go, okay, this is about what this will run. This is what this will do. I have people sometimes, I want to just redo my house and I'll go, what's your budget? $5,000. And I'll go, which one room do you want to work with first? Because that's not realistic anymore. Materials and everything's high. Everything is really high right now as far as things like that. So, I can help them get realistic on what they can and cannot do.
And I think that's one of the biggest, people think that's kind of an adversarial kind of relationship. I'm not going to tell you how much I want to spend.
Yeah, I'm not going to tell you. I'm just going to lowball it because they'll try to spend it all. Well, no. I want it to be your house. Yes, I have to make a living. I'm not here for my looks. I'm not a dolly decorator, but I can help guide you to get you where you are happy in your home.
Well, one of the things that I think is probably a misconception that a lot of people have is they see these homes on TV, and it's gosh, that's that's palatial. Could be a mansion, or look at all the rooms, or look at all the space. What about people that think that my home's probably a little too modest to benefit from a designer? Talk about the myths and realities around that.
Well, there's a lot of that. And, I have people think, oh gosh, I just can't have a designer in my house. But, we've seen everything. We have, I have seen a lot of things that someone might be, I guess, kind of embarrassed or ashamed. And, that's why they really do need a designer so they can help get you up to speed, basically, or get you where you feel comfortable inviting your family and friends. But that's something no one should be ashamed of. Your home is everything. The home is where you make memories. As I said, your family, everything. So no one should be ashamed of their home.
And so is it the possibility of someone saying, you know what? I don't have a huge budget, but like you said, what room do you want to start with? I mean, is that something that someone can do? Say, look, I really just want to focus on my main living area, my, entertaining area. And
right.
then, maybe later we'll move into my, my master bathroom or something like that. Is that something that you've worked with people on, just very specific
yes,
areas?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Most of the time, most of my clients I've had over the span of 25 years. And a lot of times, after about like 5-7 years, they're ready to redo something. It may just be a bedroom. It may be the kitchen. It may be the living room. It's whatever they need. Like I said, I love a new home build, but I love helping a client just update their living room or their kitchen, or renovate their bathroom. It's whatever the client needs, and that's what's so important that they need to understand. That I think a lot of times they think designers are just someone that's going to, berate them and make them feel small and dumb, and that's not a good designer. Will never do that.
Well, let's I would take a little bit of advantage of having your expertise and your experience here, in that, some of these shows I'll see where, people are shocked when, that designer goes out to a swap meet or something and gets just this fabulous, piece of furniture. What would you say? Do you have any kind of secrets of the trade, tips or tricks for people where they could cut costs, where everything doesn't have to be custom? There's also, like, I'm sure people that say, money's not an object, but I just want it to look incredible. Then there's other people, look, I want the best it could, but I have this kind of budget. Are there some kind of tips and tricks that you could share that, maybe if you can't do the custom thing, then there's a way to, there's a place I know, or a way that we can do something off the shelf that may look, just as good?
Oh, absolutely. That's a good point. I appreciate you bringing that up, Jack, because a lot of times you can, when like periods of furniture or different styles, or even, for example, I'm working on a bedding ensemble for a client. Well, the whole cost of it all was staggering for her. She felt like it was just too much more than she wanted to spend. So, I said, okay, let's pick out the primary piece that will make this look fabulous. And then we can do something else like the piece that shows the most, like the Euro pillows or the comforter. Go big there, and then the underlying, we can go a little lower on that. We can cut the cost there. And so, yeah, that's something I love to help people to know when to splurge and then when to cut back, when to not spend as much on one thing and the other. So it's not all high end all the time. You have to have highs and lows. And I feel like that's how we live our lives. Some things we'll splurge on and some things we won't, or you don't have to. And I feel like I can guide my clients in the direction that they can get what they want, but they don't have to break the budget to do it.
Well, let's talk about, because there's a lot of the DIYers out there, right? They watch this and I would bet that you've come across these situations where you are asked to come in and maybe salvage a DIY gone wrong.
Yes.
So how salvageable is that? And one, what are the biggest mistakes that people make when they think they're going to go the DIY route and it ends up costing them more than if they just would have engaged a designer to begin with?
Absolutely. That's generally they didn't measure correctly. Measuring is so important. They see furniture in a furniture store and, oh my gosh, they love it. Well, they get it home and they couldn't get through the door. Measurements are so important. Scale, of things and a lot of times truly the design of it, it's something that you need to be aware of. I've had that happen where they tried to do it themselves and then something, it's kind of a nightmare in a way. And that's where it really costs. That's where it really costs money. And that's why if they can get some help, even at the beginning, even if it's just like, look over my house plan. Do you see anything? What do you think? Just a small consultation. Or I have done consultations where I'll say, okay, this is some of the things I think will look good in your house. This is some pieces. If you want me to order it for you, I can do this. Or if you want to shop for it yourself.
Oh,
okay.
Do
you want to, find something that's similar? The height, I can give them I'm kind of picky about how tall my lamps are and where they're going to go and things like that. Well, I can guide them to that. And so I work with people that do both. They're do-it-yourselfers, but mainly my clients are busy homeowners and they don't have time to do that. They really don't. But I do have some and generally they're family, but that way I can say, something like this would look really good, and but a lot of ladies and even gentlemen, they love to shop themselves, and if they kind of have an idea of what they're looking for, that saves them a lot of time and money too. If they kind of have the perspective of the size and the color, or what will work there. So I have done that a lot too.
So you'll do, I guess I would, for the simplified, call it a done with you or a done for you kind of option there. Because I can tell you that done with you, even if someone wants to do a lot of it themselves, I don't know what it is about closed spaces, homes, houses, the optical illusion of how big a room looks and what it can, the stuff that you can put in it always seems to be drastically different than what reality is. And I don't know why it is that to me, furnished rooms always seem to look bigger than empty spaces.
Right.
And so are there kind of tricks of the trade on that estimating? Do you see that as people thinking, oh no, this could go here and this can go here and this can go here? But your kind of trained eye says, well, probably not.
Yeah. Or they don't measure. They simply don't measure it. And, that is just really to me, one of the most important things, especially for a DIYer, is to make sure you measure and that you know your space. How big it is. Carry that tape measure with you. That is crucial.
Well, some of the things I'd like to talk about, just a couple of more things that maybe people don't think about when they think about design or decorating. I think, obviously people think about, the paint, carpet, furniture, window treatments. How much do you get involved? Because you mentioned earlier about where a light was, but lighting can make such a huge difference in a living space. How much do you get involved in that, and really, how big a difference do you see that lighting can make in creating a comfortable and a really nice area?
I think layered lighting, where you have your ambient and you have your task and you have your decorative, that is what is important in a home. That way, and of course, dimmers. Dimmers are so important. In a home, you can have it set to, be as bright as you need it to be or as dim as you want it, depending on what's going on, the mood at the time, So, lighting is extremely important, and the height and the size and everything. Yeah.
Well, let me ask you this, Lori. So what's kind of the geography that you work within? This is something that people can do, wherever they are in the country, work with you at some level, or
yes.
How does that work?
Yes. I can work virtually. And have done that, especially with COVID going on and everything. But yeah, I have worked with clients that they send me their pictures of their room, of their furniture, and I may have to have them measure some things, but then I can come up with a plan for them for their homes that they can do themselves if they want, or if they need a contractor, whatever. But as I always say, have gun will travel. So, I'll go anywhere. I love to travel. So.
Well, then I guess my next question is, what would be the first step someone would take to, just get a feel and see if there's that compatibility. I think, what you've talked about today, to me, I mean, just listening to you and watching some of your videos and stuff, there's something that just tells me, okay, this would be a pretty easy relationship, that you're open and you've definitely busted the myths around kind of that stereotypical working with a designer. So what would be the steps that someone would go to find out more about Lori Carpenter and how to get involved with your process?
Well, I would first recommend getting on what I call like a discovery call. And let's talk about your what you're wanting to do in your home. Is it a new build, or is it going to be a renovation? In which room? And then I'll ask things like family members, children, kind of get an idea of their ages, and pets, because if we're looking at a sofa, we have to keep that in mind. What is going to hold up? I don't want to place something that's, in 2 years looks terrible, so we have to be mindful of that in the home. So I really like to get on that discovery call and ask all those questions and kind of get a good feel for the project and them for me. Then if it all, works out and it sounds wonderful, then we will schedule. That's usually like a 15-minute, 20-minute call, something like that. But then I will decide what they need. If they need it, as you said, done for you or done with you, whatever they need, designer for the day, or maybe they just need a paint consultation. It could be just as simple as a 90-minute paint consultation to help them pick out paint colors for their home, and that's it. So, yeah, I have, again, being in kind of a rural area, you can't niche down real tight I do window treatments. I do, I do it all, really, from ceiling to floor, and turnkey. I have even one client. They didn't live here, and I was getting their home ready, and basically they were coming in. I was at the grocery store gathering up stuff for when they got home, when they got there that night, so they wouldn't have to go to the grocery store or go pick up supplies. I even have that. I even have, people that can clean their homes once they leave. I have a lot of artisans and craftsmen and vendors that I've worked with for years and years that I can pull into almost anything that is here, but in other areas, I don't have that luxury as much, but, I can't control that as much, but I have worked with lots of, general contractors and stuff. They just want to do their job, and as much as I can take off their plate, they love it.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Because that's the one thing that I've learned, that a lot of those contractors, the biggest thing they would love to do is probably not have to interact with the homeowners because of the emotional attachment.
Well, and like first time home builders, they are so overwhelmed. They don't realize, all the things they've got to make decisions on. So a first time home owner or home builder, or that's going to build a home, having a designer is, like a breath of fresh air to them, because they don't realize their fireplaces can be a certain size, or, they can be bigger or smaller, or, light switches and plugs and how everything coordinates. It is overwhelming. And that was one of the reasons I got into design so many years ago. I was trying to build my house, my dream home. And, yes, I made mistakes because I had never built a house before, but that's what I think that's why I'm so passionate about it, because, I remember how overwhelmed I was, and I know how desperate, it feels, and the mistakes you make, because I made them. So yeah, I just think it's very, very important to get someone at the beginning, if you're building a home or your renovation. And generally the contractors, a lot of times they'll say, oh, we can do it. We don't have to have anybody. But that a lot of times, again, he's not, or she may not necessarily know your lifestyle. So that's what's important, to not make mistakes that you have to live with because you can't afford to change it.
Yeah, well, I think that's one of the things, and I think anybody that sees your work, I guess you probably don't get tired of hearing the word wow.
I try to create, that is what my goal is always to create a wow factor. Wow factor, but it's got to be functional, and it's got to be comfortable and embodied.
Well, it's truly amazing, given the fact that everybody's idea of wow is different.
That's true.
And for you to be able to tap into that is truly remarkable. So what's the best way for people to find out more?
You can go to my website. It is www.loricarpenterdesigns, and that's LoriCarpenter designs.com. And that's the best way to reach me there. And then I'm on Facebook under currently it's the Grapevine Home. We're trying to get it changed to Lori Carpenter Designs. The Grapevine Home was my storefront for many years, and I closed it out. It was a gift shop and accessory. I closed it out and just focused on interior design. So I'm in the process of getting that changed, but I am on Instagram as Lori Carpenter Designs, and Twitter is HM Designs, DESIGNS by Lori. And so that's another way to reach me as well. But
well, I got to tell you, I would encourage anyone to go and look at the gallery, because not only are there just remarkable photos on there of just tremendous living spaces, but it also is a great representation of the the wide array of types of homes and the types of people that you work with that reflect that individuality, because there's contemporary on there, there's rustic, there's regal, and I don't know if I'm saying
you're doing good. You're doing good. Farmhouse, and then there's very contemporary. So yeah. And
I'll tell you, this is just probably the caveman in me, but you know what impresses me the most?
What?
Is I don't see an electrical cord in any of those pictures.
I hate electrical cords. And I am so excited for the day when we don't have to have any, that everything will be Bluetooth or, something, that we don't have to have electrical plugs, because that is something I love to look at in a home or in a new build. I'll tell them, let me walk with you through this house when we're telling the electrician where to put the plugs.
Yeah, and I'm sure a lot of people don't think that, hey, how wide of a table you want here is going to depend on probably the symmetry of where it's going to sit and not have a plug showing.
Not have the plug showing, or the light over the table, centered over the table and not at one end of it. And it's a lot to take in, and but that having a designer on your Rolodex or whatever, it makes it so much easier, and saving time and money. That's the value of having a designer.
Well, and what I think people could take away from this is it could be done on a budget. It can be done,
absolutely,
and to have someone that will listen to you and, be able to create a space that kind of reflects not only what you want, but I think, you probably surprise a lot of people in seeing things that maybe they didn't consider that they fall in love with. And to do that with someone's home is just really remarkable.
Oh, it's the best feeling. Everyone deserves a beautiful home that they feel comfortable in. I truly believe that.
Well, Lori, and I think that's, what you're doing is much more than, decorating. And I think you're making a big difference in people's lives. And like I said at the top of the show, you do create these sanctuaries that people can relax and really be proud to call home, and really feel. And what you say, how you describe it as, renews their souls, right?
Yes.
And I think that's something that I think if you take a look at your gallery and look at what you do, that it's something that is truly possible.
Absolutely.
With the designer. So I want to thank you for coming on today. And
thank you, Jack.
Well, and sharing this information and also sharing these ideas and busting some of these myths and misconceptions that people have about designers. It really has been a treat having you.
Well, thank you so much, Jack. I appreciate this opportunity, and I hope people will feel more comfortable calling a designer. Sometimes it has gotten a bad, bad publicity at times, because people have not been good stewards of people's money and their time. And I hope people will feel more comfortable calling a designer now.
Well, I feel confident that they will, and I think you can't go wrong, talking to you, at least, finding out what the possibilities are.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I look forward to hearing from some.
All right. Well, folks, there you have it. Definitely check out Lori Carpenter Designs.com. We'll have the link there on the show post, along with those other places that you can connect with Lori and check out her videos, which I would highly encourage you to do. And until next time on Influencers Radio, remember, you are the only real game changer.
You've been listening to Influencers Radio. To get all past shows and updates on future shows, visit influencersradio.com today.